Hey brother, can you spare a dime? Hey sister, can you tell me what's on your mind? That's all you have to spend is time. I ain't a gold digger, but I'm not about that life. You're talking rich game, I'm speaking legacy. So when you talk, you're not understanding me. On a cloud chase, but it ain't for me. Securing backs, but it ain't for me. I'm buying buildings, I'm buying G's too, but I ain't buying one while I'm written from you. Wealth for generations won't get caught on your new plantation. Teaching my seeds to sow when they're reap, praying they have more than their souls to keep when I'm gone. My truth carries on, so I made a dollar, spent a dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I make the dollar, invest the dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I.
They told me go to school, said it was the only way, but they never told me how much I had to pay. Now these bills pile up every damn day. Got me curving this shit, you know, Sally Mae. Can't knock my parents' dog, get everything they should. You living in a system that's not any good. Let's break the cycle, I'm reclaiming my time. I ain't dwelling in the past, I'm just skipping at the line. Ain't gonna front like I don't like the nice things, yeah. But I need more commas in my savings, yeah. I want it all, 40 acres and a mule plus more. Crypto, Bitcoin, any coin. I'll invest in the culture, I'ma buy back the hood. So when you see me glowing up, it's because I should.
Made a dollar, spent a dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I make the dollar, invest the dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I.
Money making Mitch. Come on, I'm broke, baby. I ain't got no money. Even Ray Charles can see you got money. Really making this money, really making money, man. You understand? It ain't just about the money. It's nothing.
Made a dollar, spent a dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I make the dollar, invest the dollar, make the money, but the money don't make me. Being rich doesn't make you wealthy. I just wanna build a legacy, so I.
What's going on, guys? We're back with another night tonight with our financial series, our financial freedom series. We kicked it off on our first night. We started it off of talking about building wealth through real estate. Issa did a phenomenal job with that. Last night we continued our series, and we did one where we talked about building wealth through the stock market. But tonight, guys, this one is very, very, very important. And tonight, our presenter is Joseph Nyamwange himself, and he has his own personal testimony how he was able to, where he was able to go through where at one point in his life he was actually in debt. He was able to climb out of that debt. So tonight, this is not some presentation that he put together. This is his own living, walking testimony that he's going to be giving you guys. So you definitely don't want to miss it. Tomorrow we're going to close it out with Myron. We're going to we're going to have a night on our simply just shifting our mindset. But tonight I'm going to be your host. My name is Varney Jala. So I'm simply just going to be, taking the questions for you guys. So if you guys have any questions, just a few house rules. You guys have any questions, definitely leave it in the comment field. Okay. And at the end, we're going to be doing a live Q&A where you guys can be able to ask Joseph any questions in reference to his presentation tonight about debt. But again, tonight, guys, I want us to definitely make sure that we lock in. Okay. Make sure we lock in and listen to everything that Joseph is telling. This is his own personal testimony, how he, at one point he was in debt. He was able to climb out of that debt and simply start building wealth. So everything that he's going to be telling you guys tonight is definitely something that we all can be able to implement and apply and start using. And I think this is definitely one of the biggest components when it comes down to stopping us in our community from building wealth. It simply just comes down to we just have a consumer mindset, and a lot of us are simply just struggling going through debt, and we can't get over that hurdle. So if we can if we can come through tonight, guys, just listen and just implement the things that Joseph was telling you, the different strategies that he used for him to be able to climb and get out of debt. I think that right there would definitely put us on the right path. But I know you guys don't want to hear much about me. I think Joseph should probably be getting ready any moment now. But again, like I said, just a few house rules. Anything during the presentation that comes to mind, don't just simply just type it in the comment field. I'm going to be taking down the different questions that you guys have. At the end, we're going to do a live Q&A where I'm going to read off these questions to Joseph, where I'll be able to read off these questions to Joseph, and then that way we can answer it live. So again, enough about me. Let's go ahead and bring Joseph in.
Hey, family, what's going on? Look, I hope you didn't think one bit that I was going to have a financial freedom series and I didn't have something to say. Nah, I got something to say. And I've been looking forward to this particular conversation with y'all. And this has been on my heart. And like Varney said, and thanks so much for hosting today, Varney. I'm not here just to talk about strategies. I'm not here just to talk about mechanisms and different methods. Man, I want to pour my life story to y'all. Like God has been putting something in me for a while now. And look, guys, I'm a little bit emotional. I just took my family to the African American Museum today in DC. Man, I just spent time looking at my history and explaining to my daughter who we were and who we are as a people. And so understand I'm coming today from a heavy heart. And I want to talk about this big elephant in the room. I want to talk about this whole debt concept. But again, I want to share my story and understand that where I came from is similar to what you potentially are in and what also could be possible. But look, before I kind of get into it, I do think it's important to level set. If you don't know me, and this is the first time, matter of fact, let me ask you this one favor. If you're watching this, just share this. This is going to be a conversation. I'd rather like to call this a family meeting that I think every person of color, every Black person needs to hear. We sound an alarm today. Like we're going to be straight up. This ain't hyperbole. This ain't just motivation. Like this is us as a people saying we got to get our stuff together. Like straight up, we got to get our stuff together. And so I want to level set and anchor this on understanding who I am, because understanding who I am would provide context and color to what I'm going to be saying. Now, if you know me, and if you don't, I encourage you to go check me out. My heart and I bleed for the African American people. I love Black people. I have devoted my life, my resources to the uplifting and the betterment and improvement of African American people. Like when I watched the whole George Floyd and Trayvon Martin, I don't just hashtag, y'all. I don't just tweet. Now, this is life for me. Like when you see me coming up here, I'm not comfortable always just being out there talking about these things. I do this because I care for our people. I have literally, me and my wife have poured hundreds of thousands of dollars, no exaggeration, into the African American community. And I've been praying to God to put me in a position where I can pour millions of dollars to make sure that we can change and lift a generation of people that look like me. The reason why God has blessed me is not just so I can have money and so I can be fly and so I can flaunt. God has blessed me specifically because he wanted me to pour back into and lift my community. So understand this, everything I do for the African American community has always been about love. It's always been about improvement. Because I know, even as a Kenyan American, I know what the African American struggle has done for me. Had it not been for the Dr. Kings, had it not been for the folks that have been in this country, I would not be a fortunate black millionaire. Wouldn't happen. But with love, with real love, must come accountability. It got to come accountability. And I want to make sure that we are consistent and that we are accountable. That we are accountable. And because of that, I got to be honest with y'all. And I want to tell y'all this in love. I want to talk about the state of black wealth in America. And I want to be honest. Right now, we are not doing good. We're not doing good. Now, we could talk about it. Maybe a lot of you might see it on your feeds. But the truth of the matter is, like guys, we are struggling. How do I know this? Specifically when it comes to debt, 77% of African American community has debt right now. Right now, you see 10 people walking, 7.7 of them have debt. Out of the 77%, 60% of them say it's difficult or improbable to pay their bills. Out of that, 30% did not pay their bills last month. We're struggling. I want to talk about the big elephant in the room, student loans. Right now, the average African American has a $52,000 student loan compared to $28,000 of our white counterparts. Debt has eaten us up alive. And let me tell you why I want to talk about debt specifically, because what debt is by definition is saying that you are submitting ownership to somebody else. We are struggling when it comes as a people to debt. And I don't know if y'all feel me. Just say in the chat, yo, I feel you on this, Joe. Debt is one of those things that is destroying our community. And look, people have DM'd me and said, Joe, look, I know you're talking financial freedom. I know you're talking all that stuff, but here's the deal. People are like, yo, I know it, but yo, we don't got money. That black people are poor. Yo, let me tell you, and I'm generally speaking, that is a straight falsehood. Black people in 2021, according to CNBC, we registered $1.6 trillion in spending power. That's more than Mexico. That's more than Switzerland. Come on now. We got the money. That's more than Spain. We got money. Matter of fact, there's a stat that shows when you look at incomes of people who are making $75,000 per cent and up, that there's a higher clip in the African-American community than any other race. We are making money by and large. Now, yes, you're going to have those few circumstances, but by and large, we got money. The problem is not money. The issue we have is what are we doing with our money? We are trying to prove to broke people that we're not broke. We are making decisions that are having impact. Look, I want to keep us accountable. I'm coming down somebody's lane. Why? Because that was me. I was buying stuff to impress people because I had a good job and I wanted to look a certain way, but I was poor and I was broke. I had a negative net worth back in 2014. But if you were to ask anybody about Joe, they would say Joe got his stuff together. And the reality is I didn't have my stuff together because I made decisions that had a negative impact because I gave in my control and I gave in my freedom to somebody else or to a good time. And a lot of us are trading in our freedom for a good time. I want to talk about debt, y'all. I want to talk about debt. And I've been trying to muscle through this, GP. I've been trying to muscle through this, Kalina. I've been trying to figure this out. Like, why is it that we as a people keep struggling with this? Like why is this need of having to prove to somebody that we got something? Like what is that rooted in? And look, I started like just kind of peeling the onions. And is it insecurities? Is it because I want to? Is it social media? Is it like what is it? But listen, what I'm telling y'all now, and God has been pouring this to me, it's much deeper than social media. That's the cop-out answer. It's much deeper than just certain things. Yo, the reality is when you actually go into the undercover, like when you pull under the covers, what you realize that we as a people have been traumatized because our experience in life has always been looking at things and operating from a place of lack. Straight up. We grew up and all we ever seen ourselves is a people of struggle. Mommy and daddy struggled. They worked hard as heck. We don't know what lavish life looks like other than what we're exposed to on television. Let me take it a step further. When you look into what you learned in school, let's be honest. What have you learned about Black history in our school systems? Let me tell you what I saw. I know it says we were slaves. It says we were slaves. And then we built the cotton field, and then you have a couple of guys Frederick Douglass, a couple of heroes there. And then there's this fast forward gap, and you'll see Dr. Martin Luther King, I Have a Dream, and Rosa Parks stood up on the bus, and that was the end of our contributions. Well, people don't tell you that even when I look at American history, this country was built on the backs of our people. There was $1 trillion industry of slavery in the cotton field, and it wasn't only cotton that we were building. We were building the luxury homes. We were building the canal systems. We were building roads. The infrastructure of America was built on the backs of African Americans. We were inventors, but because we weren't allowed to have patents, we had to give credit to people like Thomas Edison and others. My people were more than just struggle. Let me take it a step further. I want to go even beyond, because you're doing yourself a disservice to the African American community if all you keep doing is just looking at African American history. But if you look at the Black contribution to the world, did you know that pre-slavery, that the African continent was responsible for educating the world when it came to things like philosophy, when it came to mathematics, when it came to medication, when it came to science? Come on, when you look at the monuments built in Egypt right now, that was from people like us. We weren't just slaves, y'all. We weren't just monkeys. We weren't just savages like they called us in some movies and some shows. We were inventors. We were wealth builders. We did something. We earned something. Look, guys, this is real to me, because I'm telling y'all, the trauma that we're facing, that we're dealing with as a people, goes way beyond just social media. It's what has been infiltrated in our heads. Why? Because the school system that we have today is built to create patriots. And the more we look deeper into America and realize that America is not as perfect, the fear that we might rebel. But I'm telling you, there's deliverance and there's healing when you know who you are. See, they say we were poor, but I want you to research guys like Mansa Musa. This brother was so wealthy in Africa and so philanthropic in his way of giving that he single-handedly caused inflation in Mali in Africa. Come on, man. Yo, I was in the museum today and talked about Africa had this idea of no borders. We used to constantly share with the Europeans. We would give them spices, natural resources. We educated them. Names like Aristotle, Socrates, right? Plato. I had no idea these guys went to Africa to get their education. We taught them that. And unless we as a people start realizing the contributions we made to the world, we can never experience freedom. Yo, getting money to me was never just about just becoming wealthy. I've been talking about freedom and liberation. God has been pouring this into me because what he's saying is, I want more for Black people. And when I think of the Black struggle, when I think of where we are as a people, when I look at stats that say by 2053 we're going to have a zero net worth, I can't reflect but stop thinking about what happened in the Bible. The Black story is in the Bible. How do I know that? Let's look at the people of Israel. Come on, if y'all churchgoers, y'all know what I'm talking about. In the Bible, Joseph, in Genesis, Joseph goes to Egypt, and the Bible says that Joseph interpreted a dream. And because he interpreted a dream for the Pharaoh wanted to elevate him, and he gave Egypt an economic blueprint on how they could become wealthy. And the Bible says Joseph told them, said, in the times of harvest, save 20% so that when famine comes, you would be in a position of ownership and position of strength. And they were so impressed with Joseph that they said, Joseph, we want you to be the manager and the owner and one of the most powerful people. And on the backs of Joseph, Egypt became the world best power. Because of Joseph, they did that. And what happened? Joseph brings his people. Joseph brings his body. Stay with me. I'm coming. I'm going. Joseph brings everybody. And notice the Bible says at the end of Genesis that Joseph died. And when Joseph dies, right, that generations upon generations happened. And the Bible says the Pharaoh forgot who Joseph and his people were. And then he paused. And then he says, I look at the people of Israel. And this is what he says. He says, I'm looking at a people that these guys are wealthy and they're strong. And because they're wealthy and they're strong, they're a threat. Y'all, I'm about to come in somebody's lane. Listen to me. You as a people, like African Americans, we will never be a threat until we get into a position that we are able to leave debt, leave our situation, and gain economic prowess. Listen, nobody cares if you march. Oh. Nobody cares if you march. The only reason why they stopped the Montgomery was because of the economic issues it did to the bus when they boycotted the bus. It was messing up the economy. When you start messing up the economy and start controlling the black dollar, that's when you become a threat. And Pharaoh says that the people of Israel are becoming wise, they're strong, and they're growing in numbers. They're a threat. And because of that, we have to enslave them. The Europeans, the Portuguese, all these guys, they saw Africans as a threat, and they used our spirit of openness. They used what was supposed to be our greatest strength in terms of our welcoming spirit. Yo, if y'all go to Africa, this ain't no lie. We are as welcoming as we come. They used their welcoming spirit, and they took advantage of the situation. And when I think of that, I think of the children of Israel, because now, after 400 years later, Egypt decides to say that we're going to make the children of Israel slaves because they're a threat, because they're economic prowess. Come on. God knows our struggle, y'all. God knows our struggle. And so he says, I'm going to use this as an economic threat. So they become slaves. But and the Bible said that they were slaves for over 430 years. Come on, man. You know how long we've been struggling as a black people? 400 years. But Jesus Christ said, I had enough. I had enough of watching my people struggle. I had enough of seeing them as slaves. I had enough. And some of y'all need to realize and come to your court to say, I had enough. Tell me in the chat, said, I had enough. That Jesus Christ said, I've seen the struggle of the African-American man. I've seen the struggle of the ones who've been going through stuff. I've seen the struggle. I've watched how mommy had to work as a single mother and had to work 2 jobs just to take their kids to school. I've seen how daddy had to work overnight and work during the day just so he could provide school fees. I've seen the struggle. And Jesus said, I had enough. And he said, I'm sending Moses. I'm sending a deliverer. I'm sending Joseph. I'm sending somebody to go let my people know that I've not forgotten about them. I don't care what they say. I don't care what system's out there. I don't care what's going on. God has had enough of watching black people struggle in this world. He's had enough of watching people like George Floyd being murdered. He's had enough of watching his young boys being killed by cops. God has said, I have had enough. And just like that, he sent Moses to deliver his people. And notice what God says. He said, listen, Moses, I want you to deliver them. And this, don't miss this. He said, deliver them and take them to the land that I promised them. In other words, what God says is there has to be an exodus before there's liberation. Oh, man, look, listen to me. You're not going to be delivered unless there's an exodus. Meaning you have to leave your current situation from where you are, maybe not physically, but mentally. Some of us are going to have to remove friends. Some of us have to change our circles. Some of us have to change our situations. We have to join community. But Jesus Christ is saying, listen, I need to deliver the people of Israel. And I realize liberation can't come while they're still in Egypt, because they've forgotten who they are. This is why I've been pressing so hard to say, we need to go to Africa to visit. I didn't say live, but we need to go to Africa and visit. We need to know what God has called us to do, because God has called us to do more and more and more. And he said, I've had enough. And the Bible says that he sent Moses and said, Moses, go deliver my people. They have to take them out of Egypt. And the reality is that I see Bob Marley talked about this a lot too, that we had to leave Babylon so we can get back home. So many times throughout scriptures that God was, and watch this, God was positioned them and say, I need you to leave Egypt to go to a land that I promised you. And why? It's because God wanted to put them in position of ownership. Oh, man. You heard this. God didn't want them in Egypt because Egypt never belonged to them. Matter of fact, remember when Joseph left, Joseph looked at his brothers and said, if I die, promise me my bones don't stay here. Take my bones to the promised land. This is not ours. And a lot of times we over-spiritualize this thing. And we say, this is not ours. We're waiting for a heavenly throne. God is not saying that. God is saying, I want you to be owners in this world. The reason why, and I'm not going to be here long, the reason why God wants us to do this, I'm preaching now. The reason why God wants us to do this is because God is saying, I'm taking you to a promised land of ownership. Why? It's because when you own something, you set the terms. Oh, listen to me. When you are an owner, you determine the terms. And a lot of times when it comes to debt, we have given up ownership to other people. That's the problem with debt. And a lot of us are not operating from a position of strength. Why? Because we're not owners. We're not owners. We're debtors. Listen, when you sign a loan with Bank of America, you're not an owner. The Bible says very clear. It says that the lender, the borrower will always be slave to the lender. Always be slave to the lender. And a lot of times we can't set the terms in our lives. That's why we take jobs that we hate. My son's praising with me. That's why we take jobs that we hate. That's why we do things that we don't like. And we know we watch our parents have to show up. We know we watch our ancestors have to show up. And listen, one of the most heartbreaking things of slavery, listen, slavery was bad. Slavery was awful. But one of the most traumatic things of slavery was that they stripped the right for us to become owners. We didn't have the right to become owners no more. Matter of fact, they said we were property. They said that we were objects, that we had to negotiate just to be considered 3/5 of them. Look, the lynching was bad, don't get me wrong. The cutting off the feet when we ran away was bad, don't get me wrong. The raping was bad, don't get me wrong. But the most traumatic thing they did was say that we weren't eligible and we weren't able to own, that they built on the backs of ours without allowing us the opportunity to become free. I even saw a quote today in the African American Museum that says, I define freedom by being able to make money on the labor that I've done. You have people that work for 200-300 years and get nothing from it. That thing is traumatic. And we weren't allowed to own. And because of that, we never set the terms. And even pre-slavery, what happened was the Europeans, they started to dictate the terms and they started doing the slave stuff. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of us who are stuck in debt, we think we're having a good time. We think we're going on vacation. We think we're chilling. We think we're riding in a new car. We think we're doing good stuff. But in reality, what's happening is we are no longer setting the terms. We are giving ownership away to a bank. See, look, there are a lot of home buyers, not a lot of homeowners. Oh, come on. There are a lot of folks who think they got something, but they don't got nothing. And what God is really telling you is, for the people, if I'm going to deliver you, I'm not going to physically pick you out of Egypt. What I'm telling you to do is I want you to become an owner and set the terms. Why? Because when you set the terms, you can have a world that reflects God. Oh, man. Meaning that if you're a landlord in real estate, you can create an atmosphere that's conducive and that's ministry-centric. That when you're an owner in a company, you can make sure that things are being done right. When you're an entrepreneur, you can operate with moral aptitude and not just off the P&L and worry about just gross margins and profit. When you're a boss and you reflect God, character matters. And what God is saying, I want my people at the helm. And when you don't pay attention and you don't vote and you don't get involved, you let somebody else set the terms. And what God is saying, if I want y'all to become free, I want y'all to set the terms. The second reason, I'm going to get ready to wrap this thing up. The second reason tied to this is what God really wanted for them to do, for the people of Egypt, is he wanted them to form a community. The reason why he wanted them to go to the promised land is because he wanted them to form a community of like-minded believers operating in purpose. So God not only wanted them to set the terms of what they did, But he wanted people to link arms with a gift here and a gift there and a gift there, because that is what kingdom building is all about. Look, we've been doing church all wrong. See, we always been thinking about church as just a place to come and consume a service. And again, we focus on only spiritual gifts. But imagine a church where the dollar circulates for a long period of time, where I can look at a community and say, there goes a black lawyer, there goes a black judge, there goes a black doctor, there goes a black dentist who's operating in their purpose, who's moving a certain way. There goes a black athlete, there goes a black scientist, there goes a black architect, there goes a black engineer. What you start creating is what looked like Black Wall Street all over again. What God is saying, I'm trying to build a Black Wall Street. Oh man, look, listen to me. We're not going to be able to experience financial freedom unless we shift the mindset. We have to shift the mindset from being a consumer into becoming an owner. That's what God wanted us to do. And if we are not careful, if we're not careful, what's going to end up happening is we're going to allow someone else to set the terms. Right now in Africa, there is a second revision of colonialism. Right now as I'm speaking. Other countries are moving in droves to Africa to start building. Why? Because they're thinking about the future and they want to become owners. African Americans, we're not your enemies. Africans are not your enemies. The legacy that I'm talking about with Mali and Congo and Mansa Musa and Kenya, that's your legacy too. When God is saying, I've had enough of watching my people struggle, he's talking about the citizen in Kenya, the citizen in Nigeria, the citizen in South Africa, the citizen in Zimbabwe. He's talking about the citizen in North Carolina in America. He's talking about that young boy in California. He's talking about that dude in Chicago. He's wondering, is there a nation of black people who are willing to become millionaires and operating in purpose? And can they get a community going? Look, guys, I can preach until I'm blue in the face. I done sweat everything out. It's like 80 degrees over here. I could do this all day. But here's the thing, guys. If the people don't rise, I'm going to give y'all something prophetic. We read scriptures in Revelation. And look, I'm unapologetically Christian, so I'm going to quote a lot of scriptures. When we read Revelation in the church of Laodicea, the Bible talks about the Laodicea being a people that says, we're rich, we have much, we need of nothing. But God says, no, you are actually poor, you're struggling, and you're like a vomit. I'd rather spit you out. The enemy doesn't want to see black people struggling. No. The enemy doesn't want that. The enemy also doesn't want to see black people winning. The sweet spot for the devil is to have you feeling like you're comfortable. He wants you to feel like you're middle class. He wants you to feel like you're able to pay the bills and just kind of get through life. He wants you to think that life is just okay. But let me just let y'all in a secret. You want to shake this bad boy up? Start thinking a little bit bigger. Oh man. Start realizing what God has called us to be. Start thinking that God has built a community of people that says, I want them to be wealthy, that I want them to be ahead and not the tail, that I want them to be rich. I want them operating in purpose, because that's when kingdom building has come. And guys, that's why I started the Become a Black Millionaire Challenge. Look, me and my family, we're millionaires. We're good. And I could have went into the sun. I could have went into the sunset, y'all. And trust me, I was tempted. I know how to build wealth. I've done it. I was $100,000 in debt in 2014. I had a negative net worth. Ask my brothers. Ask anybody who knows me. I looked good. My parents looked good, but I had to make a change. And I searched high and low. I did all the programs. I did the Ramsey. I did Grant Cardone. Look, there's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's nothing that really brings it all together. That takes into account the black struggle and the African American struggle and points me towards purpose. There was nothing out there. That's why I birthed Nyamwange Investments, because I felt God in my spirit saying, Joseph, go deliver my people. I didn't give you money so you could sit here and just move to Maryland in your fancy home. I didn't give you money so you could buy fancy cars. I put resources so you can make a difference, so you can give kids scholarships that never thought they could have a chance. So you can send kids to Africa who have no clue who they are, so that you can get a generation of black people to become wealthy. And so look, this is my ask for y'all today. I'm answering God's call. And when you operate in purpose, the metrics change. These series and these events, they're for y'all. They're good. But ebooks alone ain't gonna do it. Audio books alone ain't gonna do it. Ask anybody or any professional would tell you, change happens when you join a community of people that are like-minded like you. That's when shift happens. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this community of this Black Millionaire Challenge, April 25th to the 27th, where for 3 days, I'm going to pour into y'all. And I'm going to show y'all what it's like to become free and become what God has asked us to be. We're going to talk about this debt. We're going to get into the details. We're going to talk about stocks and real estate investment. We're going to go through all of that stuff for 3 days, and it could be yours. But you got to stop talking about it. You got to stop talking about it. It's time, y'all. I said this is a family meeting. Because my son is crying. I'm about to go get my son. But we did this commercial ad because we wanted to draw into a people that they know who they are. And what I'm encouraging you guys, make your ancestors proud. People were lynched to get the freedoms you got. People were murdered to get the freedoms you got. They said that the slave ships had literally over 30 million people going through slave ships in the Middle Passage. And they said they used to keep them in the bottom of the ship, and it was so stink that if you just opened and took a swift, you'd get sick. That people never made. Come on, man. People died for us, man. Not so we can sit there and just watch basketball and do all this stuff and do nothing. God wants us to build. So listen, before we shift into this Q&A, I want you to tune into this. I want you to see what's going to happen when Black people come together. I'm going to see you in a second.
Growing up, we were told that our people were just slaves, that our contribution to the world was just in physical labor and in the cotton field. But I know a different history, a history that says we contributed to the world in areas of mathematics, science, medicine, philosophy, and most importantly, our people were wealthy. We were owners. It's time we get back to our roots. It's time we build a generation of Black millionaires who are operating in purpose, on purpose. Visit www.becomeablackmillionaire.com. And I'm going to give you the tools on how to get it done. Let's build.
My man.
Yo, Joseph, man. That was that was a lot. I'm still taking it in, man. That presentation, man, was phenomenal, man. It was definitely touching. We saw a lot of comments in the chat, and I just want to say thank you, man, just for just pouring back into us, just sharing your stories with everything with us. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open it up for Q&A. So while you guys are asking your questions in the comment or even on Facebook, what else we got? YouTube on here, so you guys can just type your questions in the comment field, and in that way that will open it up for Joseph to go ahead and answer those questions. But before we get into those questions, I just have a few quick questions for you, Joe.
Sure.
Yeah. So when you're telling your personal story, so my question to you is, what 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 was that aha moment for you when you
Mm.
realized, man, I'm in $100,000 in debt? What made you what exactly clicked for you to make you make that shift?
Yeah, man. Look, I'd first say it was a journey, bro. Like God is funny, man. He's patient with me. He'll see me make dumb mistakes, recover, dumb mistakes. I think what ended up happening though is there was a moment where like the interests just all compounded at once. There was like during that season, I remember like I had about like 3-4 credit cards that had one of those like no interest for 18 months kind of thing.
Correct.
And they were like $20,000 clips. And I maxed all of them, bro. And so what ended up happening when I didn't realize, and you probably know this, if you don't pay it back in full, they retro back your interest all the way back to the top. And so my interest only payments was almost like $3,000 some odd dollars a month. And so my salary was going to that. So that was like strike one. Strike two, I was miserable at my job, but my job paid well. So it was like I couldn't make a shift comfortably because I had these bills that I had to pay. And I was just like, there has to be better. And then thirdly, man, God is always blessing my heart, man, the spirit to give. And so I used to be really frustrated at my local church at the time because we just had a different philosophy on ministry. And so I just wanted to be able to give more, man, but I ain't have nothing to give. I had nothing to give. And I remember, man, like just that time I was like, yo, God, like, man, if I can just get out this thing, man, like real talk, if I can get out this thing, like I'm gonna make a change. Because I don't advertise this a lot before, but before I hit the $100,000 clip, I got to $30,000 and paid it off. I got to like 20. Like I've been playing around and like digging myself out, but this one was just too deep. Like I couldn't like bail. I couldn't like outmake my stupidity in one shot this time. And I just made a commitment to God. And I remember there was a class at the time my Pastor Troy was doing at the church. It was like an FPU class. And that's where I started like getting curious and hungry for a better way. But that was the aha moment. It was literally, it came down to just me, an actual bill. Like, I don't know if y'all out there have either some large student loan or whatever, and a monthly bills where just there are moments you just feel like suffocating, or you feel like it's depressing. Like you start feeling like, yo, what the heck? And you know all these bills are due. And Chuck, I had nothing to show for it, man. Like, what was I doing? Like, I don't really do much. I was like, I got nothing to show for it, and it was just a problem to me. And I think what was also crazy about it was you have to understand I was working in a corporate infrastructure where there were a lot of wealthy white men, and there were not a lot of black folks. And so I'm looking at white people, homes in the Hamptons, all this, like they're appearing off well. And I'm in the same place where, and there's no knock on my community, but I got an opportunity to become wealthy, and I'm throwing it away. I'm allowing Wells Fargo, Chase, like they own me at the time. And that's when I was like, yo, we got to make a shift. Like we got to do something different. And so that was my kind of my calling on my like coming out party, so to speak.
Perfect. Again, guys, remember, ask your questions in the comment. And just to continue on with that, my question I had for you, Joseph, what would you recommend someone that's in that exact situation right now? Where would you recommend for them to start?
Yeah, look, I think first is just being honest, like where you are. Like, I don't think people talk about it enough. At the time I was single, if you're married, it's having those conversations with your spouse and say, yo, what is our situation? Like, what are we? Right? That's one. I think the second thing too, man, is when you ask, where are we? Also ask, what has God asked of us? Like, what is God, like start dreaming. And the problem is a lot of us aren't tied to a dream. So we make a lot of dumb mistakes. The two other things that are very critical that you cannot miss this. Number one is you got to lean into the information that people have who are trying to get, or people have on where you're trying to get to. So, for instance, if you want to be in a situation, like I was talking to a lady the other day, and she said, I want to open a nonprofit, and I want to be able to do things without begging people to give. And I said, this is why you build wealth.
That's good.
If you want to get in that position, you got to lock in with people who've done that. Like you got to get the information from the right sources. Like, period. Like that's one. Number two, man, you're gonna need a community, Chuck. Like, and when I say community, I'm not talking about just necessarily a large group. You need people who are going to be around you, going to keep you accountable. And right now, accountability, for whatever reason, people equate it to inspection, and it's a bad thing. We run away from it. But I will never be where I'm at right now if I ain't talking to people like you, Chuck. You know what I'm saying? When we bounced ideas, financial matters. If I ain't talk to people like, you know what I'm saying, like different kind of folks, like Mark, like Stephen Ing. If I ain't talk to people like Issa, these are people who poured into me from a financial perspective and says, yo, I'm going to show you, I'm going to guide you. And so what I'm always telling people is like, guys, acknowledge where you are. Find someone who has the information, like who can give you unfiltered information and who can help you get to where you're getting to, and then join a community of people that are like-minded like you. That's what, Chuck, that's what God was talking about in the Bible. That's if you notice all times in scriptures, every time that people were in bondage, he would always say, look, I'm going to free y'all and I'm going to take you back to the promised land. And because he knew in the promised land is where they could experience ownership and a community of like-minded people. Like, that's what it all came down to. And so I think that's kind of the best way I would approach from where you are. And that's why we have the Black Millionaire Challenge. It's a great starting place for people to really get at it.
That's awesome, Joe. So I don't see any questions coming in, so I'm just going to keep asking these questions away, man. Tell us more about the Black Millionaire Challenge. What exactly can someone expect once they go through that challenge? Just give us a little bit more details on that challenge.
Yeah, look, guys, I consume a lot, just like everybody else does, on social media and stuff like that. There's a whole bunch of stuff to get rich, like literally. Like, someone could tell you marketing schemes, e-commerce, flipping, BR, Bird. Look, there's a whole bunch. What I'm showing is very niche in the sense that I'm really trying to help like Black people be restored back to where God had us originally, 1400s where we were owners, where we were wealth builders, where we were the source of education, where we contributed mathematics and philosophy. And so that's the spirit behind which the Black Millionaire Challenge is. Like I shared before, for me, I've been there. Guys, I've been down this road. I know the blueprint. I did mine in 7 years. I'm not waiting till I'm 80 to retire. By God, I retired my wife in 2020, and by God's grace, I'm going to be retired the next 8 to 10 years. And the only reason why it's that long is because I have crazy giving habits, and I don't want to stop giving the way I give. And so what I'm going to show y'all in 3 days is everything that I've picked up over the last 8 years. Like, we're going to literally spend day one talking about debt, but not just debt by the numbers, but we got to fix the whole debt mindset and how do we kind of get into that, right? So we're going to spend time talking about that. I encourage people to sign up for the VIP, because the VIP will allow you to participate for 1 extra hour of Q&A where we can kind of go in. That's day one. Day two, we're going to really talk about investing. Yo, Chuck, you know this better than anybody. Putting your money in the bank, it'll take you 1,000 years to double your money in the bank. Like, yep. that is dead money. Like, we got to put our money in vehicles that's going to make money for us, right? And so I'm going to show you guys, and I'm a disciple of Warren Buffett. I'm a big fan of how he operates. I believe he's still the oracle. People still clown him now, but he's one of the best investors in our lifetime. I'm a student of his. And so I'm going to show you guys of what I did. That was one of the biggest engines I've done. And we're going to have some folks in the VIP, some special guests. And then lastly, real estate. Make no mistake about it. Like, real estate is the heart of what gives me my freedom. And so I'm going to help you guys analyze a deal, understand a deal, how to finance a deal, where to get started in your deal situation. All this stuff we're going to really, really lean in a way that I'm really, really excited about. And then we got some other bonus treats that I don't want to give it all out. You'll have to be in the challenge to figure it out. But guys, I can promise you, And this is a guarantee. This is a guarantee. Like my man Charles Barkley.
I like that.
Here's this. If you do not leave Black Millionaire Challenge with a game plan and a transformational mindset, I will refund you 100% of your money back. No questions asked. And matter of fact, the reason why I'm telling you how to pay for something, because I've learned with people, if you don't make the investment, you're not going to do it. Like, you got to make the investment. But I'll reimburse you 100%, no questions asked. My only ask is that you participate. Like, you can't not show up and then say, I want money back. No, you got to show up, lean in. But if you don't get what you need to get, we're going to take care of you on that. And so that's what we're going to be doing for 3 days.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Joseph, we have a question in the comments that what about those who literally have no money to invest? What would be your recommendation to get started?
Yeah, good question, man. Here's the thing. And Warren says this. The first person you ought to pay is yourself. The question in itself is rooted with the wrong mindset. When you have no money to invest, and I'm making a couple assumptions. I'm assuming this is a person who has a job and they have a living, but maybe their living is more than what they're making, right? So they have a little bit of money to invest. If that's the scenario, if the philosophy is pay yourself last, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You always have to invest first. One. I think number two, we have to have and one of these things about these courses, man, there's a different kind of Joseph, man. I get a little bit tough on people. We have to have an honest conversations about our cost of living. Real talk. Like, a lot of time, and I've counseled people, hundreds of people, and I hear things like, oh, I need to have cable. I need to send my kids to swimming classes. I need to go to private school. I need to. And they end up being broke and broke and broke. You don't need to do a lot of those things. And so, and this is what we talk about in the debt piece. We got to make some hard decisions now, because the problem is, Barney, is that we already have given ownership to somebody else. Our 9 to 5 set the terms for us right now. Like, they tell us to jump, we say how high. They say you can't go to your kid's game. You say, all right, sorry, son, can't go to the kid's game, because they set the terms. So like my boy Jacob in the Bible, you're going to have to work for Laban for additional 7 years, but you have to make the terms of the deal where you're positioning yourself to become an owner. So now you could set the terms. And so my guidance to you is, I want you to have an honest conversation. Like, can you make adjustments to your living? Don't worry about what people think. And then also just change your philosophy on, we don't compromise investing. Like, we got to invest first, because that's what our freedom's tied to.
Great.
Hope that helps.
So we have a next question. Is this separate from the FLA?
Good question. So FLA it is different from FLA. So FLA was our initial course that we launched, and it's still there, and we still recommend people to that. That is a much more broader online self-guided course. So it's about how you really like to consume. Like, you have to understand FLA, we talk about money in marriage, we talk about wealth protection, we talk about investing, we talk about entrepreneurship. It's a lot of facets. It's self-paced. It's 9 courses. One of the things that it's not lacking, but one of the things that you're going to get that's different in Black Millionaire Challenge is 2 things. One is there's live interactions with me, right? So we're going to engage in Q&A versus just you kind of following along with the book. That's one. I think secondly, if this was college, FLA would be Algebra 1, and this would probably be Algebra 2. Or this would be like FLA would be 150. This would be a 200 level course. We're going to take it a little bit deeper, but it's going to be more condensed. But the baseline is still consistent. Like, the baseline is still the same. A lot of the workbook material still carries over. Fundamentally, it's the same. It's just how you consume it. So I hope that helps.
Great. Joe, we have another question. So I'm going to sign up right away. First, I need to know, will a married couple sign up separately?
Good question. So as a believer, I believe married people become one, which in essence means you and your wife will be one. You guys can just sign up once. You don't have to do it twice. So
great.
I hope that answers your question.
All right. I don't see any more questions in here.
Hey guys, take advantage of these times, man. This series is coming to an end soon, so this is the last week. But
All right. So we have another question, Joe. Do you do personal consulting sessions?
good question. So how do I answer this the right way? I normally don't. Reason being, as you could see, man, I got kids, family, they're my priority. I don't have the scale to do one-on-one. However, we do occasionally take a few, but I only do that with people who have already taken the course. So if you're taking Become a Black Millionaire, if you're taking FLA, then we could talk about that. But if you haven't taken any of those courses, then no, it's not available.
All right. Also, we have another question. This is, should I do the FLA to get the base, or can I start from here?
Good question, Lori. I would start here. Black Millionaire Challenge, because we're going to cover the same items from FLA. We're just going to build on top of it. It's just going to be condensed. So think of FLA. You got 9 courses, 9 weeks, a little bit more broader. You can ask questions in the community, but it's not as interactive. I'm going to cover a lot of those same topics, and we can kind of get in depth, and you'll get access to some of the same similar workbooks. So I would say start here. It'll be a better use of your dollars. If after that you still want more, then we can figure out the next path. But good question.
Awesome. So Joseph, my question to you is just to follow off of Lori. So is it safe to say that the Black Millionaire Challenge is FLA condensed into 3 days?
Yeah, with a very few nuances. Like, there's some new material, but yes, by and large, it's 3 days condensed with interactive items. So we're good. Awesome.
Right.
Awesome.
Any more questions? You guys keep the questions coming in.
I would say this, guys. Look, man, this is the hardest step. Look, and I'm learning this even now in my journey. The best investing you could do, forget stocks for a second, forget real estate. The best thing you could do is invest in yourself. Like, you're the engine. Like, think about it. Like, your brain, who you are. The hardest thing about becoming a millionaire is becoming a millionaire. Like, that's the hardest part. Once you get your first million and you become a millionaire and you now changed who you are at the core, the second, the third, the fourth, they become a lot easier. Yeah, I became a millionaire 3 years ago. And it was hard work. But since then, we've ran that play 3 times. Like, what I'm saying? So we've grown a lot. And so the first one's the hardest, but
all right. Awesome, Joe. So we have another question that came in. Do you recommend investing while still in debt?
Yeah, good question, man. Look, and we're going to get into that in Black Millionaire Challenge, but short answer is yes. Our situation as Black people is jacked up. All right. Like, it's really, really jacked up. And so we can't afford to leave money on the table. However, we also can't keep our eyes off the prize of getting out of debt. And so we do provide a framework on caps on what I want you investing in. And so we'll break down what kind of debt you have. And based on what kind of debt you have is the cap that I put. But once you get out of debt, man, we got to take it to another level.
All right. We have another question from Lori. Is it too late for me? I'm 62.
Good question, Lori. Absolutely not. Let me tell you something, man. Believe it or not, despite what you might think, 62 is young. 62 is actually young. The way we are built today, man, people are living to 90, 100. You have 32 years left on this planet. You can fundamentally change your life in 7 to 10 years, depending if you put the work in. You have time. Time is on your side, Lori. I'm not saying waste it. What I'm saying is enjoy the vibrancy and the wisdom at 62. It's not too late. We could definitely make this happen. Now, if you're 25 watching this, don't think like, oh, I'm just going to wait till I'm 62. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is never too late to get started. And I've counseled plenty of people in the 60 plus on how to get wealthy, right? You know what I'm saying? And how to build a legacy. So you're doing good.
All right, awesome. We have another question, Joe. If I have one session with you, do I need the Black Millionaire course?
Yeah. So if you do, you wouldn't need it because we're going to cover a lot of those stuff in our one-on-one, and we're probably going to get much deeper than all that. So for your particular case, which is a unique case, you're good.
Awesome. So, Joe, me personally, I have a question for you in reference to the Black Millionaire. On as far as on the scale of investing, so would you recommend someone to invest into their 401k to start, or simply just start investing into like the stock market? Start picking like different stocks like Nike, Google, Amazon.
Yeah.
Well,
So
which
so,
area would you recommend they start first?
Yeah, so it depends, man. And this is where like we get into this in the Black Millionaire Challenge. But I would say this, most people who are swamped with debt, what I always tell them to do at as a bare minimum, you need to take advantage of your workplace program. So if they matching you at 6%, which is usually a 401k, IRA, or something like that, I tell people to take advantage of those immediately. I break down investments, Barney, in 3 different categories. You got short-term, mid-term, long-term. Like short-term meaning like I need this between 0 to 2 years. You don't send them to the stock market. You need to get a high-yield savings account, money market, whatever. When you start doing 2 to 5 to 7, 8 years, then we look at a brokerage account, right? We'll get access to it. We can figure out the best way to do it. And then your long-term retirement, things like Roth, 401ks. And so in the class, we do break down how do we allocate funds according to those 3 different categories. And we walk through those things, but very methodically. And the intent is to make sure that your money's working for you. And that mid-tier is where we usually, that midterm savings is where we usually extract to start buying our real estate. And so there's a whole game plan that we're going to map out in Black Millionaire Challenge. So to answer your question, it depends on your scenario. But yes, usually we tell people to start there because there's definitely free money and there's tax advantages when you go that route.
Awesome. We have another question. Do you think it's a good time to buy stocks, or is it best to do government bonds during these volatile times?
Listen, man. I would say this first. I think it's Angela. Angela, first thing I'll tell you is you need to sign up for Black Millionaire Challenge. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's where you need to start investing. Look, I'm a believer in the market, stock market, always, often. I don't get like. Let me ask you a question. If there was a sale at the Gucci store, or if there was a sale at Zara, is it a good time to buy Zara, or do we walk away? No. Go buy Zara. It's a sale. I treat the market the same way. What I'm going to teach you, though, in this class is not about picking stocks. It's about how do you evaluate a business? Like, is this a good business to invest in? These things are complex, but we need to simplify it. And so we're going to talk through all that. But the short answer to your question, I'm not a big fan of bonds. They're not great investment tools for me. Volatile or not volatile. Study the history. Stephen then talked about this yesterday, that even whenever there's crises, America's economy is resilient. They bounce back. And so the economy will bounce back. But you got to think as an owner, and you got to think long-term, and that'll change how you think about ownership. Let's take one more question, Barney, because I know I want to say one more thing, and then we got to head out.
Correct. So this question is from Nicholas. Is it better to make extra mortgage payment and pay off the house early, avoid tons of interest, or should that money go towards other stock investments?
Yeah, man, Nicholas, this is a good question, man. So it really depends, but by and large, you got to do both. So most times, your primary home where you live, even though a lot of people see it as an asset, in reality, it's actually almost a liability. Why? Because your primary home always costs you money. I've lived in a paid off mortgage. I have mortgages homes that are paid off. I still got to pay property taxes. I got to pay water. I got to pay a whole insurance. There are things that you got to pay, and so you don't want to sacrifice something. You don't want to sacrifice investing for the sole purpose of paying an investment. With that being said, you need to shift from a home buyer to a homeowner, and the only way you can do this is you pay down. And so that's why I always encourage people to get 15 years. Don't commit to the long term, and don't give away money to the bank, because the bank is solely focused on taking your money. Like that's what they make money off. Like, think about it. You sign up for a home. That's $250,000. When it's all said and done, they're going to get $500,000. Period. That's the deal they make. And so we got to shift. The real question, Nicholas, is going to be more tied how we balance and how do we approach that. And that's what we're going to talk on Become a Black Billionaire Challenge. So hopefully you join, and we'll see you there. So anyways, Varney, man, look, bro, I thank you for hosting it. I know we sit here at 7 o'clock. Guys, I just want to talk to y'all real quick. Look, man, everything I'm doing with the Black Millionaire Challenge, I'm doing this for our generation. I'm doing this for my son, right? Because I want him to be in a world where we are not just borrowers, that we are not just folks who have no power, but we are kingdom builders and we are change makers. And a lot of that has to do with our economics. I know you guys might say money's not important, but I promise you, everything that touches your life, everything that's important that touches your life, money affects it. All right. So I don't want you to lose sight of that. Tomorrow is the last day of Financial Freedom Series. I need y'all to share this. 1 and 2. Tomorrow, Myron Edmonds is gonna come here and he's gonna lay the hammer down. All right. He's gonna come here. He's gonna lay the hammer down. So I'm asking y'all tomorrow, tune in 6 p.m. for the finale. Myron is one of the best speakers out. He's a big brother to me, someone I counsel with. I need to see y'all tomorrow. Sign up for Become a Black Millionaire Challenge. Go to the website, becomeablackmillionaire.com. Sign up, 3 days. Let me help change y'all. It's time that we take our rightful place. I'm going to see y'all tomorrow. Let's get it.
Growing up, we were told that our people were just slaves, that our contribution to the world was just in physical labor and in the cotton field. But I know a different history, a history that says we contributed to the world in areas of mathematics, science, medicine, philosophy, and most importantly, our people were wealthy. We were owners. It's time we get back to our roots. It's time we build a generation of Black millionaires who are operating in purpose, on purpose. Visit www.becomeablackmillionaire.com. And I'm going to give you the tools on how to get it done. Let's build.